The word love has by no means the same sense for both sexes, and this is one cause of the serious misunderstandings that divide them. Iris Johansson's lovers weathered the sack of city-states and the vagaries of the French Revolution. Judith McNaught's heroines endured amnesia, social ostracism and misunderstandings so big they deserved their own zip code. I learned that if you're going to move in with a friend, it's important to establish ground rules immediately so there aren't any misunderstandings down the line. Every year is filled with good times and fights and struggles and misunderstandings. All of it adds up to being in a band over a long time. I don't believe in devils. Indifference and misunderstandings can create evil situations. Most of the time, people who appear to be evil are really victims of evil deeds. Some misunderstandings are hard to cure. If you have rules the guests need to follow concerning your staff or pets in your house, be sure to kindly let them know so that there will be no misunderstandings. I'm concerned with China growing at double or triple the rate of the West, that there will be tensions. One needs to do something to start addressing misunderstandings and frustration. I didn't leave Barcelona in the best way, but I took the decision to leave and I don't regret it. There were a few problems with the club, some misunderstandings, and so I decided to leave because I wanted to develop as a player. The truth is what facts are. I like facts. I like things to line up and be clear, and when we are honest and true about things, it helps things to make sense. And it cuts out a lot of the fat that gets in the way and causes for the misunderstandings that I believe lead to violence and dysfunction, etc. For a real new India to arise, all petty and small things must be given up. To be redeemed, all Indians must offer to sacrifice not only their good things, but all those evil things they cling to blindly, their hates and their divisions, their pride in what they should be thoroughly ashamed of, their quarrels and misunderstandings. When people look at one thing from one perspective, they certainly fail to get the whole picture, and that is the main reason for the majority of misunderstandings that sometimes lead to bloody confrontations. There have been some friendships lost over this. That's the most difficult for me. I find it very uncomfortable to know that I was at one time close friends with someone, and because of jealousies and misunderstandings and so on, these friendships have dissolved. I want to block some common misunderstandings about understanding. In many of these discussions one finds a lot of fancy footwork about the word understanding. I really hate misunderstandings, to a degree that it's hard for me to watch sitcoms, or any kind of funny movie where there's, like, this big mishap, or miscommunication. It gives me such anxiety that I almost can't make it through the movie. I hope my fans can learn who the real Zhao Wei is and get rid of all the misunderstandings there were before. Before, I could meet and greet all my fans one by one, but now, it's hard to remember all of their names, and my actions can sometimes cause misunderstandings. If I bow to one side, I've heard people from the other side ask why I didn't bow there. Human thinking can skip over a great deal, leap over small misunderstandings, can contain ifs and buts in untroubled corners of the mind, but the machine has no corners. Despite all the attempts to see the computer as a brain, the machine has no foreground or background. In the strange heat all litigation brings to bear on things, the very process of litigation fosters the most profound misunderstandings in the world. Only to avoid misunderstandings, I must say that even last year, when I wrote my pamphlet, I heartily wished that Prussia should declare war against Napoleon. No family is perfect. We all have our differences, misunderstandings, and ups and downs. It just seems like the most successful, iconic love stories are not so easy or escapist. I think the ones that stay with us and resonate are full of conflict, discord and misunderstandings, cause that's what makes drama happen or tension even if it's a comedy. The more I come to know about the outside world's perception of China, the more I feel there are all sorts of misunderstandings, and to a certain extent, people do not get the full picture from the media. A lot of foreigners have few opportunities to visit China, and a lot of Chinese people do not have the chance to go to Europe or to the West. Sometimes misunderstandings between bloggers and the MSM are the result of simple ignorance. I love my dad. There is no doubt about that. He is a wonderful man and a good person. Like many father-son relationships, we have our struggles, our misunderstandings, and our miscommunications. We are very different people, but also very similar at the same time. Even between the best of friends, mistakes and misunderstandings can happen. I never really feel old. Young, till I die, minus some internet-speak misunderstandings. I can't tell you why a particular athlete would leave a certain coach, but I can tell you there could be many reasons. They could have personality conflicts. They could have misunderstandings. Lots of stuff can happen. I had some misunderstandings with Allegri, but they have been cleared up. I always get everyone prepared so there aren't so many arguments on set. I have a policy that the first thing I do in the morning is go over to the trailers and discuss exactly what we're shooting that day. It's time-consuming, but it reduces the chances of misunderstandings on set. I have to be clear with myself and very conscious of what I am trying to say. Misunderstandings will always take place, it's unavoidable. Hitchcock loves to be misunderstood, because he has based his whole life around misunderstandings. One of the most important misunderstandings for white people to get over to move forward is this idea that racism is a good-bad proposition, that if we're good we can't be part of it. That being uncomfortable means you're a terrible person. We have to let go of that and understand it as a system we all live in. Descriptions of inner, spiritual processes are much more liable to misunderstanding than descriptions of events in the physical world. Such misunderstandings arise easily because the life of the soul is in constant movement and because we fail to bear in mind that the life of the soul is very different from life in the physical world. Friction and misunderstandings often occur when communicating across generations. It gets even more challenging when working across virtual settings. If you look at the history of technology over a couple hundred years, it's all about time compression and making the globe smaller. It's had positive effects, all the ones that we know. So we're much less likely to have the kind of terrible misunderstandings that led to World War I, for example. If acknowledging that racial misgivings and misunderstandings are still a part of politics and life in America, I plead guilty. All I can say is I am lucky I have never had any misunderstandings with my co-stars. Relying on intelligence as the chief touchstone for decisions about whether and when to attack creates a wide opening for misunderstandings, divergent interpretations, and vulnerabilities to parties with an interest in either attack or delay. It's great to engage with the mainstream media to get messages out, but the most empowering tool is to create records of our lives, and our own images, which are not filtered through judgments, biases, or misunderstandings. I want to use the good name of my father George Bush to build a better relationship between the US and China. There are so many misunderstandings and there is a lot to do. There is no such thing as emotional incompatibility. There are only misunderstandings and mistakes which can easily be set right if we have the will to do so. I think most of the time when people have big disagreements and big misunderstandings, when time lessens that blow, it creates a deeper understanding for both people. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Fame is a series of misunderstandings surrounding a name. I've always loved the 40s romantic comedies and the idea of those mistaken identities and lovers' misunderstandings. Not listening is the reason for so many misunderstandings and conflicts. Narratively speaking, innocent misunderstandings are disappointing. Arbitrary events are also disappointing. The stories that really grab our attention involve not accidents but people doing things on purpose, to get things they desperately want. What you feel about a film is what you feel when you're in love with a woman. You fight for her love and it's always a struggle. There are misunderstandings and you're always trying to prove that there's more to you. I always got on well with Roberto Mancini and never had a problem with him. Every manager has their own way of working, tactics, and style of play. As a player, you do what the manager says. There are misunderstandings, but generally, everything was fine under Mancini. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.